When we come to a studio to work, when you really come to a studio to work, an acting studio that has a spine of the profession, you have to understand that you have to come to the studio with the same investment and commitment and professionalism and respect that the business demands. Because if you're not going to the studio with that same work ethic, it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing for your training. You have to train in here as if it's the real world. So the real world, it's easier. But you can't go to a studio for the sake of the studio. You have to use the studio for the sake of the profession. That the real learning happens by doing it with the same intention of the real world. That's where the learning is going to come from. It's not going to come from the idea of just taking a 4.5, 5-hour class for the sake of just doing the scene. That's not the way you're going to learn. You just have the opportunity of saying, okay, I need to approach this as if it's the real world, but it's only 6 pages. So I can pour myself into only 6 pages. But discipline and discipline and discipline, compassion, but discipline, discipline, discipline for the art. If you cannot do it in here, it's not going to happen out there. You've got to use this gym for the Olympics. I want to talk about a bunch of stops that we need to discuss. And I think they're important because as actors, we do things that very often get in our own way. We do things that actually stifle us from the thing that we say we want to do. Stop looking at your work like literature. It's not. Plays are not literature. Yes, they're literature when they're read, when they're scholastic, but they are skeletons. They are skeletons hungry for human flesh and blood and DNA and cell and emotion and feeling and spirit and soul. But very often we look at these things like they're these scholastic things. We look at them like they're pieces of literature. And as actors, we can't look at plays like literature. They have to be something that is being asked to be brought to life. You gotta look at it for its humanity, for its physicality, for its momentum, for its breath, for what it's doing, what it's saying, and what it needs. When we look at things scholastically, when we look at things like they're a piece of literature, it keeps us in this highbrow mentality, this highbrow way of seeing things. And at the end of the day, it's not the highbrow that finds the humanity. It's the humanity that finds the humanity, whether you're highbrow or lowbrow, whether you are from a high socioeconomic background or a low socioeconomic background, whether you're highly educated or not highly educated. It's all human. And so you've got to find the humanity in the work. But the problem is we're reading things and looking for the correctness of the literature, like it's an English class. And that's not the way our work works. Shakespeare was not really meant to be read. It was meant to be seen and heard and experienced. Plays and screenplays. I mean, guys, let's be honest. How many of us love reading screenplays? It's really difficult to read a screenplay because it's not meant to be read. It's meant to come alive. But that's where your responsibility comes into play. You got to look at your work not as a piece of text, but as something that needs CPR to be brought to life. Not that the life is not in the text, it is. It just needs you to understand that it's a living, breathing thing. But you are the vehicle that does that. And that's a choice. But here's the thing about the choice. It's a requirement in the profession, but it's a choice of the actor. And that choice is the thing that actually employs the actor or doesn't. It's how you find that. So stop looking at what you're working on as pieces of literature and start looking at it as a human skeleton that needs all the elements of life in order for it to start moving. And as we start to look at text as not a piece of literature, but as a piece of humanity, we have to stop looking for perfection and start looking for the living. A lot of times as actors, we're looking for this idea of the perfection of the work. And that's the thing that stifles the very thing we want to do. Stop looking for the perfection and start looking for the living. Look for the life in between the lines that gives birth to the lines. Look at the life in the lines. Look at the life in the environment. Look at the life in the objects. Look at the life in the time period, in the weather. Everything about a text has to be alive because that is what it is, a slice of life in the most extraordinary circumstances. Perfection doesn't exist. Life exists. And the only thing perfect about life is life itself as an entity. But living the human experience, none of us can experience perfection because we don't know what it is. And something tells me if we did, it would be boring as hell. We're not drawn to perfection. We're drawn to the things that connect us all. And that's fallibility. That's imperfection. Suffering, pain, joy, happiness, failure, success, all the things that we taste on a daily basis. And as we start looking for something other than perfection, and we start looking for the living, or we start looking for the life, we also have to start to stop thinking of ourselves as limited beings. Our experience, our earthly experience, our life experience is not enough. It's just not enough. It's too small. But there's something that your life contains that makes it more than enough. And that's your imagination. And your life and experiences will live within that imagination because it's impossible for your imagination to not have your experiences in it. But you got to go farther than who or what you have experienced thus far. It's not enough. That limitation is the cause that keeps you from the thing you want to experience in your work. It says this is all you are. And that's not true. You're everything and anything. And the only way you can experience everything and anything of who you are is by giving yourself the opportunity to say, my imagination can take me to wherever I need to go. If I give myself the chance, an opportunity to say, I'm not limited by just what I know, but we start to seek out something greater than the smallness of our experience. As actors, we hear the word permission all the time, right? We hear these beautiful words, permission, allow, right? Commit, invest. But what does that really mean? That means we have to take the accountability to say, what is this demand of me? What am I willing to give? And then how do I go about doing it? But not saying I can't, but saying how. And the only way we find the how is through our questions, but not seeking the answers. It's not about the answers. Because the answers create a conclusion. The questions continue longevity in the exploration of how can I, where is it, and what do I have to do so I can allow it to start to happen in the greatness of circumstances. At the end of the day, your technique and your craft is there for you. The whole purpose of learning what we're doing is so it brings you alive in your work, and it helps you find the flesh and bones of what the work demands. Hopefully you'll experience roles where there's some similarities that you can utilize your experiences. But guess what? The character is not you. The character is in you, but it's not you. You're too small. Now, I don't mean you're too small in your life, but I mean in these circumstances, your experience is too small because you have not experienced the totality of life that that human being has. Look for the life. You look for every little thing that breathes life into something that is a living entity. And you find little moments in the text that start to build the faith of the life that you're creating, utilizing your imagination and finding the excitement, finding the hunger, finding the passion. We have to stop looking at the work in a way that's student. We have to stop looking at the work in a way that keeps us artistically out of the equation and start getting to the bare bones of what we do. And it's life. You have to be courageous. You have to be brave. You have to be hardworking. You have to be passionate. And you have to do. We can't utilize all the right words and all the right answers and all the right sayings and all the right talkbacks and keep talking, keep talking, and keep talking. At the end of the day, what matters is what you are doing and how you do it. And making sure that every single moment that you're doing it, you are somehow, some way being able to live and provoke truth of an unknown moment that tells the text or that lives the text. Pursue, persevere, hard work. Pursue, persevere, and hard work. Over and over and over again. But the artist wants the life, not the correctness, not the perfection, not the answer, not the excuse that keeps you from the answer. The artist says, yes, what else? The artist, okay, let me find the how. The artist quests. When you can't find the key, the artist goes looking for it. He or she or they seek to do. Seek to do. Seek to experience. Seek to live. Live in a culture now where we're forgetting what this craft is. And so we look at these great actors and we applaud them. Oh my God, did you see that person's performance? Or oh my God, he was incredible, she was incredible, they were incredible. Well, what do you think they're doing that allows them the courage, the ability, the life, the passion, the carbonation to do that kind of work? We live in a culture where Insta-fame is brainwashing us into thinking that this craft is a just do it kind of thing and you're it. This tiny little thing that takes no work is it. Well, it doesn't work like that. If you want to do greatness, you got to hold yourself accountable for greatness. And you got to identify what that is for you. Some people hug mediocrity like it's a warm, cozy teddy bear, and they snuggle up next to it at night and they can sleep soundly with it. And that's okay, there's no judgment. But mediocrity doesn't hold an audience. Greatness does. Extraordinary. It holds an audience. They found something that excites the human soul, that keeps them attentive to it. Not because they seek to have the result of the best, but because they wanted the best that they can be as they walk this planet. Train their entire lives to experience their greatness. But it's the willingness to go for the life, not the literature, to go for the flesh and bones of the work, to dissolve limitation. We use that saying, I can, I am, I will. Well, it doesn't work as a quote. It works as an action. The action, what you do, finding the life, not the correctness. Look for the living, not the perfection. Dissolve limitation. Look for the greatness that lives in you. Stop allowing your experience to be all there is and look beyond your experience through the lens of imagination to see a rainbow instead of just a street. Every time that we have the opportunity to work, it's an opportunity for you to learn something else about yourself and everybody that's not you. People pay us with the most expensive thing they have, and that's their time of their life. So you've got to pay it back with life.